Our veteran that we interviewed was Bill Pemberton. He was a radio man for the U.S. Navy and served on the USS Forrestal.
My name is Bill Pemberton. I was born in New Jersey, June 20th, 1937. You may ask, why did I choose the Navy? Could be one of your questions. Well, I was working at a drive-in fast food place like Sonic, okay? One night, a car came along with about 5 guys in it from my graduating high school class, and they said, Bill, we're gonna join the Navy tomorrow. Would you like to go? Yes, because I didn't have anything else in mind. So I went home, got my mom to sign a letter, went down the next day, registered for basic training, okay? And here's our yearbook from boot camp. It turned around my life because I didn't have anything else in mind at the time. So I went through basic training. Then my sergeant comes over to me and says, you know what, Bill? We need a lot of guys in radio school. So I was sent to radio school, and I learned how to do the Morse code. At the time, there was nothing in the world that we could use other than Morse code to communicate with each other. How do you spell Alyssa?
A-L-Y-S-S-A.
Alyssa, now, it took me 6 months in radio school to pass the test. To pass the test, I had to copy 26 words every minute. And after radio school, I was sent to Naval Base in Norfolk, Virginia. I was going to be on a brand new aircraft carrier, the USS Forrestal. It was the biggest ship ever made. And I'm a plank owner on that ship. What's a plank owner? The original commissioning crew of a Navy ship is called the plank owner. World War II style aircraft carrier, USS Valley Forge. Look how big our aircraft carrier was.
Wow.
Cold War. And the Cold War is just a mind game. It's like a couple of big guys out on the playground out here saying, I'm gonna get you. Not if I get you first. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. That's all it is. Okay, we tried to be bigger than they are. We built more missiles than they did.
The Cold War was an ideological war between the U.S. and Russia, with no actual battles that took place.
We crossed the Arctic Circle, so we became an official blue nose.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't a lot of work. We were on duty from one meal to the next. Okay, we would get down early, have breakfast, come up, relieve those guys so they could get down to breakfast. Then they were on from midnight to, so you go from midnight to breakfast, breakfast to lunch, lunch to dinner, dinner to midnight. Okay, so they would go in and go to sleep. We would go on to work. In the afternoon, not a lot going on. Go up and watch the airplanes take off, clean up a little bit. Well, here's the thing about when I went into the war, I had 2 parents. When I went into the Navy, I had 2 parents. When I got out of the Navy, I didn't have any parents. My mother died, I went into the Navy in July of 1954. My mother died in May of 1955, massive heart attack. My father died in August of 1957, but that was not a surprise because as a teenager, he had rheumatic fever. And so, you know, when you have rheumatic fever, it really takes the valves in your heart, at least one of them makes it real slushy. But the way he died was ideal. He went to bed one Saturday night, never woke up. So my living conditions when I got out of the Navy weren't very nice for a while. Actually, that picture I showed you of taking Morse code, right there, that picture right there. One of the things that we, because everything was Morse code, one of the wire services would send out a newspaper overnight. So I would sit there when I was on from midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning. I would sit there and put a roll of teletype paper, which is just a big roll of paper, into the typewriter and sit there and type away all night listening to Morse code. Then a guy would come in and cut the paper off, take it into his office. Oh, what were those old sheets of paper because we didn't have a copy machine, mimeograph. He'd type up a mimeograph sheet, we'd run off 3,000 copies and have it for everybody at breakfast. My favorite thing was sitting down there taking Morse code. I loved it, just loved it. I could sit there and watch the news as I was typing it. No, it was so big. I don't know if I can find it in my little cheat sheet here. Okay, displacement, how much the boat weighs in the water? 59,650 tons. This thing, the flight deck alone was over 1,036 feet long. We could have 3 football games end to end on the top of the flight. This was a big, humongous ship. Now, I must say, for all the time I was on that ship, there was only one night when the waves were so big in the North Atlantic. Don't ever go to the North Atlantic on a cruise. The waves up there are horrendous. The flight deck was 33 feet above the waterline. We had waves coming over the top of the flight deck.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So the ship was rocking so much that we couldn't set up tables in the chow hall. No. Again, on a lot of these cruises, like this picture shows you, we're the only ones out there.
So you never saw any other ships?
Yeah, but not, other Navy ships. They'd send out a little escort ship with us, but nah. All we want to do is get those pilots qualified to land and take off on an aircraft carrier. Huh? Yes.
Oh, no. Like in this
Yes.
thing?
Yes.
That's so
We had some accidents, but I didn't want to say anything. No, we didn't. The number of rivets used on this ship, 200,000. Numbers of propellers, 4 of them. Okay. If I could find total number of telephones, 2,300 telephones on the ship.
Wow.
Okay. Now, we could make fresh water on the ship for all of us to use. We could make 200,000 gallons a day. We always had water.
Wait, how did you make it though?
Oh, we had a distilling plant on the ship. Yeah. The flight deck, the area on top of the flight deck on top of the ship, 4 acres. And that's a small ship compared to the modern aircraft carriers like the USS George W. Bush. 5,000 guys on that ship. And it's nuclear powered. It'll go forever. We were lucky to go 38 years burning all that fuel.
Like
1993. 1955 to 1993. Then it was decommissioned. These are some of the planes that were on the ship when it was first. There's my promotions right there. 3rd class petty officer, 2nd class petty officer. 1967, now I was not on board that day, but the senator from Arizona, John McCain, he was on that ship that day, and a missile got loose and rammed into another plane, and a humongous explosion. It took the flight deck and collapsed it. 167 people died that day. Down to the executive officer's office, he signed my discharge paper, and I walked off the ship. See, I lived in New Jersey at the time, and Norfolk was not too far from New Jersey. So I bought myself an old car, and I had it right outside. I found a family that didn't need their garage, so I rented their garage for about $10 a month and had my car right there. I walked off the ship, walked out of the naval base, got my car, and drove home.